Okay, eating my words again, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, dinguses? My name's Jerry Bees. About a month ago, I dropped a video called Linkin Park Hater Reacts to Hybrid Theory because, well, for the longest time, I always more or less identified as a Linkin Park hater. You know, the singles on the radio weren't my favorite thing. But after listening to that album, my goal was achieved. I gained a much wider appreciation for Linkin Park. And more importantly, I gained a wider appreciation for you. Thank you to everybody who watched that video. I was not expecting that video to do as well as it did, and it did very well in my eyes, especially since I'm basically nobody on YouTube. So thank you to everybody who left great comments, and even the not great comments. You know, it made me think a little bit about my positions, especially my position with one Mike Shinoda. I still maintain that I don't think his, rap flow is my favorite. However, people correctly pointed out that he is way more involved with the creative process and the production process than I had originally ever given him credit for. Because sonically, you know, oh God, A Place for My Head. I just keep going back to that. The latter half of that album was quite good. And I know that, you know, the label had their say in some things, so that may have changed how the album sounded. It would have sounded differently otherwise. So, props to Mike Shinoda on that. Appreciation to Mike Shinoda for that. As well as, people didn't like my little Dr. Han joke.
Dr. Han, I am a surgeon.
Talking about Joe Han. So he's the guy who's scratching in the background. You know, he's the DJ. And actually a credit to Linkin Park. There's only one other band I know of from the early 2000s, late 90s that had like rock band that had like a DJ, and that's Incubus. I've never been a big Incubus fan. So in that sense, you know, between rock bands from the late 90s and early 2000s that had DJs, Linkin Park definitely gets the edge over Incubus. However, running theme with this channel has been that I tend to eat my own words during these reactions. So if you want me to react to Incubus, I guess let me know. But right now we don't have any time for that because tonight we have Linkin Park. It's Meteora time. I've heard that Hybrid Theory and Meteora sound pretty similar, but it's really the third and fourth albums where they kind of find their own groove, and a lot of fans hold those albums in high regard. So I'll be getting through the next two albums. The names of those are escaping me at the moment, but after that, I do fully intend to watch the Live in Texas version. It still just blows me away how engaged everybody was with that video because, if you look at some of my most successful videos on my channel, the Taylor Swift videos are the best, but the video with the most comments by a large margin is the Hybrid Theory video, and a lot of people were recommending the Live in Texas performance. So I will be getting to that at some point, I promise you. So if you want to see me react to that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Right? If you forgot about it, I'll let you know again. That's like, share, not her, but share, and subscribe. Helps the channel out a lot. I guess the big question is, am I a Linkin Park hater anymore? I'm finding myself to be more and more Linkin Park neutral. So like I said, there were elements of Hybrid Theory that I really loved and I really enjoyed. But, you know, there's still some things pulling me back, and I think we still might see some of those things in Meteora. But like I said, I want to get to the next two albums at least before I look at the Live in Texas, because that will be happening. Believe me, it will. And just because I think it's a fun thing, at the bottom of this video, I will be linking to a playlist that I created. It's just some songs that I like and you might like as well. So go ahead and check that out. I always forget that I have that, folks. And also, if you're looking forward to supporting the channel in any way and reaping some benefits, you can go ahead and also click one of the links down in the description for my Patreon, where for $1 a month, you get full access to all of my unedited streams. And I think that's kind of fun. So I've been talking for a while. Holy shit. Should we get into it? I think we need to get into it. So This song, the first song forward, is only 13 seconds. So I don't really plan on stopping at any point during that. So we'll go to forward straight into Don't Stay. Let's get into it, folks. This is Linkin Park's 2003 sophomore effort, Meteora. Okay, so just immediately here, a lot of things to like. Immediately, if you watched my last video, I'm definitely coming into this with more in favor of Chester than pretty much any other aspect of the band. But that's like their guitar tones, and I don't know if I stress this enough in Hybrid Theory. Even when I was a hater and called myself a hater of Linkin Park, their guitar tones have always been awesome. Let alone just like the progression of the riffs. But I'm already really loving the layered vocal tracks that we're getting from Chester here, where, some of it's fading out. He's kind of screaming, but singing over it. This is good. It's got me feeling a type of way. And unlike the last reaction where I said I was in a really bad mood, I'm actually in a pretty decent mood today. But it's hitting just the same, folks. I'm hitting just the same because, we're dealing with somebody we don't want in our lives. Don't stay. Get the fuck out. I need to be alone. Forget our memories. Forget our possibilities. What you were changing me into. Call your faithlessness with you. Just giving myself back and don't stay. Okay, a little bit of a breakdown moment here. Where are we gonna go? Where are they taking me? Gotta say, one of the things that I actually stressed quite a lot about in my Hybrid Theory reaction was, kind of comparing them to other nu metal bands or other contemporary like hard rock bands at the time that also had some hip hop and rap influence in them. And I brought up Limp Bizkit, right? I was already infinitely more familiar with Limp Bizkit beforehand. And I like some of the Limp Bizkit songs, but I completely agree with any critical analysis of Limp Bizkit not being the best band of all time, right? And I gotta say, I didn't say this in the Hybrid Theory video, but Linkin Park is maybe infinitely less cringy than Limp Bizkit is. But I got one comment that said I was crazy for calling Linkin Park like workout music, and I had some people defending me there, and I gotta just keep backing that claim up because like I feel like I could lift like 6,000 pounds while listening to this. It just gets you going, man. Nice. Yeah, so we got Zach coming in the chat saying this album is 37 minutes of perfection. I gotta say, immediately this is taken off like a rocket. Definitely has me by the proverbial balls, much more than Hybrid Theory did at the start. And I kind of and I didn't hate the opener of Hybrid Theory at all, but this one's just it just takes off like a rocket. Somewhere I Belong. Oh, okay. So not so much of a reaction here as it is a review for all you new listeners, because this is one of the singles I've heard. Although I historically, pre my reaction to Hybrid Theory, I don't know if this is one that I found so offensive to me. But if Closer was any indication, listening to the full song, I can get a lot out of it. Of me listening to Closer for the full way through the first time, and that part where Chester's just screaming "shut up" is so good. So we'll see if my opinion changes here.
I had nothing to say, and I'd get lost in the nothingness inside of me. I was confused, and I let it all out to find that I'm not the only person with these things in mind. Inside of me, but all of me can see the words were always my own. I wanna heal, I wanna feel what I thought was never real. I wanna let go of the pain I felt so long, somewhere I belong. And I've got nothing.
I will say, in as part of some of the bigger Linkin Park tracks, which this one definitely is, it's on the radio all the time, as expressed in my Hybrid Theory video. I am a boomer zoomer who still listens to the radio. And I think this one's actually got probably one of the better choruses, especially towards the end, and I'll point that out once we get to it. But I do like the chorus of this one quite a bit. And, I know Mike Shinoda's doing his thing that I don't like, which seems to be just speaking at all. But I don't know. I think I've grown to, like it a little bit more, or at least appreciate it a little bit more. And here I don't find it so offensive, right?
Not the way I had imagined it all in my mind. So what do I have but negativity? Cause I can't justify my own, and the fault is my own. I wanna heal, I wanna feel what I thought was never real. I wanna let go of the pain I felt so long. Erase all the pain. Somewhere I belong.
This part's so good.
I do this on my own, and I will never feel anything else until my wounds are healed. I will never be
That part right there. That part, and I know it's in the middle of the verse here, folks, but I already know this song. How I will never be, like that note that he hits is just awesome, and I think this is reflected by somebody in the chat here. Blair says, the way Chester sings Feel and Heal scratches something in my head, and I got to agree with you here. I think the deliveries from both Mike and Chester here are done very well. And it could just be the melody of the chorus. It's not so aggressive, but there's so much feeling behind it. And like I said, I just really like this one part here.
I will never feel anything else. I will never be anything
It's
till I break away from me. I will break away, I'll find. I wanna heal, I wanna feel what I thought was never real. I belong. Somewhere I belong.
really strong ending to that one. And I gotta say, one of the things I think the reason why, Linkin Park is held in such high regard for so many people is they go over these themes of feeling lonely, of feeling betrayed, and they do it backed up with this aggressive kind of sounding music, but I don't notice that the lyrics themselves are very aggressive. It's more so just the tone of the words that they're using. And I think there's kind of a balancing act that goes with that. Because, you know, I think, you know, you could listen to, dude, even like Metallica has some, you know, lyrics where it's like, this is aggression, you know, where it's, no, here are these things that I'm feeling, and the music is an extension. It's an outlet for those things. So I think there's a little bit of a balance between the lyrics and the music. I think the lyrics go very well with the music. But I think like just hearing some of those dirty ass riffs, you'd expect the lyrics to be a little bit more aggressive. And I don't think that they are, in a good way. In a good way. Does that make any sense? Let me know. 2 songs in, ladies and gentlemen. This is good so far. This is, I like this one. Lion from You. Have I heard this? I don't know if I've heard this one before.
To be, I look exactly like what you had always wanted to see. When I pretend I can forget about the criminal I am, stealing second after second just cause I know I can. But I can't pretend it's me from you. No turning back now. I wanna be pushed aside, so let me go.
Okay, I've heard this.
Let me take back my life. I'd rather be all alone. No turning back now. The very worst part of you is me. I remember what they taught to me.
You know, I know I probably already said probably the most negative thing about Mike Shinoda in this reaction so far, where it's like, you know, it's basically just any time he opens his mouth. But again, it harkens back to how much influence and you know, it's the wrong word to use perhaps, but, you know, control and inspiration he has over the rest of the sound and how things are structured and how it's produced. And like they thought about this shit. You know what I mean? I don't know how else to put it other than that. And so far, this album's like really strong, because like it took me a while to get it, because like I've heard this song, and we'll see what the second half of the album gives. You know, if it's like Hybrid Theory, where I enjoyed some of the songs on the second half of Hybrid Theory so much more than I did kind of the first half. But if it's any indication, this might be better than Hybrid Theory.
A condescending talk of who I ought to be. Remember listening to all of that and this again. So I pretend now. The very worst part of you. The very worst part of you. Yes, no. This isn't what I wanted to be. I never thought that what I said would have you running from me like this. This isn't what I wanted to be. I never thought that what I said would have you running from me like this. This isn't what I wanted to be. I never thought that what I said would have you running from me like this. This isn't what I wanted to be. I never thought that what I said would have you running from me like this. No turning back now. I wanna be pushed aside.
Okay, eating my words again, ladies and gentlemen. Eating my words again. This is why this is fun. This is why I'm glad that you guys are here watching me react to this live. And if you want to see me react live, make sure to click one of the links down in the description. But I'm eating my own words here, because I just got through with saying, like, I still am not that big of a fan of Mike's flow. But that last part was awesome. And you know, we bleed into that section where Mike's rapping with just an absolute guttural scream from Chester, and Mike's really leaning in. And honestly, this might be like, I forget the name of the song. One of the songs towards the latter half of Hybrid Theory, where I was like, this was a Mike Shinoda heavy song, and this was the best song on the album. And I really liked it. I forget which one that was. By name. This is the most impressed I've been with Mike's flow thus far, was that section right there. And then Chester's voice comes in just screaming. That was disgusting. That was awesome. Now this is a better Mike Shinoda flow. Yeah. Yeah. Mike heard me doubting this for sure. 4 songs in, and 3 songs in, right? Very strong so far, very strong indeed. And Line From You at only 2 minutes and 55 seconds was, I was going to say dense, but it's not dense in the same way that, some Radiohead tracks have been. I'm just saying Radiohead because that's other stuff that I've reacted to on this channel so far, where there's just so much stuff going on in that, in those songs. And Linkin Park's pretty good at, layering things in production wise. But sometimes it's quality over quantity, ladies and gentlemen. At 2 minutes and 55 seconds, there's a lot to get out of Line From You, especially that bridge was insane. Moving on here, Hit the Floor. Hit the Floor.
There are just too many times that people have tried to look inside of me, wondering what I think of you and I protect you out of courtesy. Too many times that I've held on when I needed to push away, afraid to say what was on my mind, afraid to say what's about as much as I can stand, so I'm waiting until the upper hand is mine. 1 minute you're on top, the next you're not, watch it drop, making your heart stop, just before you hit the floor. 1 minute you're on top, the next you're not, missed your shot, making your heart stop, you think you won, and then it's all gone.
All right, okay. So immediately, I'm assuming that's a bass there at the very beginning. Funky little rhythm. And they're catching us off guard with, conceptually, I think with this album already, as opposed to Hybrid Theory, maybe I just didn't catch it on my first listen of Hybrid Theory, but conceptually, the juxtaposition between the rap sections and the Chester sections, for lack of a better word, right? They hit a little bit harder, at least in this song, because wow, that switch up hits so hard, and I think it's on top of the goofy little rhythm that they're doing, because it caught me off of time, and I think it caught Mike off time here, because I think they dubbed one of Mike's lines, or one of the vocal tracks over it, just so it would time up properly. And I'm a slut for odd time signatures. I really am. So we'll go back a little bit here, because that was just kind of too much fun there. That's
so many people like me put so much trust in all your lies, so concerned with what you think to just say what we feel inside.
That little riff in the background.
All I know is it, all I want is to feel like watch it drop, making your heart stop just before you hit the floor. 1 minute you're on top, next you're not, missed your shot, making your heart stop. You think you want gone, and then it's all gone. Now it's all gone. I know I'll never trust it.
Someone brings up a good point. Sid says, I'm always going to be a sucker for call and response, I think. And I think that's been something that I've kind of been overlooking listening to Linkin Park thus far, is that they do have a very strong command of call and response. And again, with those riffs and combining that with rap and then the scratching in the background, just all the little production things they're doing in the background, it's a very simple device to use, but very effective. And I think they do have a very strong command of that. So that's a good point, Sid. Let's see. Popular bands right now just don't make shit like this for the general public anymore. I tend to disagree with comments like that, just because in today's day and age, there is so much content. And that's the umbrella term of content. Everything that falls under all media. So it's not necessarily that bands aren't doing it, but it's not put on our faces as easily because we have to sift through it. And let's be honest, folks, you can't trust the algorithm anymore. If you're finding this I'm so fortunate for that because somebody's watching my videos. But it's a miracle you find anything on the internet naturally anymore, or just anything at all. Just because there's so much to it. So I haven't necessarily heard anybody, Blair, to your point, that's doing stuff like this. But I have some trepidation, and I'm quite ambivalent to say like, oh, they just don't make shit like this anymore, because like, well, they might do it, but it's just not at the top of the zeitgeist, so to speak.
Light anyway, and all the lies have got you floating up above us all. But what goes up has got to fall. 1 minute you're on top, next you're not. Watch it drop, then it's all gone, and then it's all gone, and then it's all gone. Now it's all gone.
Oh. I thought it was over and they were gonna fade out, but nope. You know, I know that he ended up being a, Dave Grohl ended up getting dragged for some infidelity, as well one should. But he's got this great quote about music as far as, you can look out, when I'm on stage and I see 20,000 people and I play a song, there's 20,000 reasons why people came to see that song. Everybody's got their own reasons for loving a song the way that they do. It calls back to a certain memory for one person. Maybe it calls back to a certain mood for another person, right? So this might come off as maybe a shallow take, but some of the best fun I've had with Linkin Park so far have been the Chester jump scares, and I'll call them that, where I'm not expecting Chester to come in at all. Where it's that, his vocals and Mike's rapping, where they do work in conjunction with each other, and it really throws you off of pace in a good way, because I think that's really, really fun. And I enjoy that quite a bit. All right, this is Easier to Run. Got an odyssey of a Linkin Park song at 3 minutes. A little bit more somber.
It's easier to run, replacing this pain with something new. It's so much easier to go than face all this pain. You're all alone.
Something about that delivery and that melody just screams early 2000s, and it just takes me back to a simpler time. And I've never even heard this before, but this is, I think all of Linkin Park has aged pretty well, but I do it is still very much a product of its time, and I think it works rather well in that regard. That you can hear it and go, okay, that's very obviously early 2000s. But it travels well. It ages very well.
Up and take the blame, I would. If I could take all the shame to the grave, I would. If I could change, I would. Take back the pain, I would. Retrace every wrong move that I made, I would. If I could stand up and take the blame, I would. I would take all my shame to the grave. It's easier to run, replacing this pain with something new. It's so much easier to go than face all this pain. You're all alone. Sometimes I remember.
And this is it's just another one of those feelings, or those concepts that they're trying to attack here, which is, this is regret, folks. And I kind of like the more somber approach to that, because I mean, regret is not a happy feeling at all here, ladies and gentlemen. So sonically and thematically, this song's working for me quite a bit.
I would. If I could stand up and take the blame, I would. If I could take all the shame to the grave, I would. If I could change, I would. Take back the pain, I would. Retrace every wrong move that I made, I would. If I could stand up and I don't feel misplaced. It's so much simpler than changing.
I'll go back a little bit here, but that's so sad. That's such a heartbreaking lyric. All the helplessness inside, pretending I don't feel misplaced. It's so much easier than change. Like, oh, come on. Making me feel bad on a Wednesday.
It's so much
So I think as far as the song itself, I'm not absolutely crazy about it, but on its place on the album, this works very well. I think we were in store for something a little bit slower, a little bit more somber. And I think conceptually here with the theme of the song, this is actually like one of the stronger written ones they have. Yeah, it's not the deepest song in the world, but, you know, like going back to this thing about regret, you know, it's easier to run away than dealing with it. It just is. You know, you might be left with, you know, more regret if you didn't change it. That doesn't change that it's simpler than change, right? Not impressed, but works well on the album, but this shit reeks. No, not at all. This wasn't bad to any degree. I like I said, I think lyrically, this is one of the ones that's kind of grabbed me a little bit more. And on its place, because I'm not looking at just individual songs here. If I was reacting to individual songs primarily on YouTube, it'd be a different story. Maybe I wouldn't love this one, but those songs like that have an impact on the album. Like, what's an easy example? Any Color You Like off of Dark Side of the Moon. If you haven't listened to Dark Side of the Moon, what's wrong with you, right? It's an instrumental track. Is it my favorite Pink Floyd song? No, but listening to Dark Side of the Moon without listening to the whole album is heresy, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. That album doesn't work without Any Color You Like. It just doesn't. Is it one of the best Pink Floyd songs? Not at all. But it just wouldn't be the same without that song leading you into the last medley that takes us to finish off the album for what it is. It's a seamless transition there. Now, this song, I guess we'll see here in the last 5 seconds of this song if it seamlessly transitions into the next song. But there's something to be said about an album's or a song's placement on an album for how it feels. If anybody watched my last Taylor Swift reaction to Reputation, I thought New Year's Day was a great ending song, and it was placed on the album very well. So, I mean, what are we at? We're the 6th song of the album, and we got 4 songs in a row that absolutely slapped us in the face. So we were in store for something a little bit more somber, a little bit more slower, a little bit more introspective. And I think that's exactly what we got. All right, Faint. I'm pretty sure I've heard this one because it's got... Oh, yeah. Seamless transition! Seamless transition. What the fuck did I just say? Seamless fucking transition. Fuck chat. Fuck you guys.
You're all that I got.
I can't feel the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored.
So this is another one where it's more of a review than a reaction. And this is why I listen to the albums, ladies and gentlemen. Because we're coming off of a more somber track and the seamless transition into a song that absolutely is meant to rip your face apart. Mike coming in real hot in the beginning of this, because, you know, I've only heard this song as a single, isolated from the rest of the album. So, you know, coming from that last song into this, and he's coming in real hot. At least it seems that he's rapping at a little bit of a quicker pace than he usually does. And actually, I don't know if this is like the biggest Linkin Park song, at least by plays on Spotify, or, you know, how much they've made off of one song than any other. I think this song is like when I think of Linkin Park, I think of this song, and the Transformers song. Play the clip. See, seamless transition. This is one of the few times where I haven't eaten my, where I didn't eat my own word. I'd say this is like top 5 or top 3 for them, honestly.
Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. No, hear me out now. You're gonna listen to me like it or not. Right now, hear me out now. You're gonna listen to me like it or
just like Closer. Chester comes in with the part that, because I'm just like, oh, Linkin Park comes on, skip the song. I didn't know that he went that hard right there. Again, this is why this channel is an important project to me, because it's making me appreciate shit that I wouldn't have otherwise. This is just what it is. And also, I know I'm not done with the song already, but at 2 minutes and 42 seconds, as with other songs on this album that were hits, I feel like they really keep their integrity creatively, whether or not it's the label telling them to do this or that. Because, 2 minutes and 42 seconds, that's perfect radio time. And let's be honest, this came out in the early 2000s, where that was way more important than it is today. Now it's just like, is your chorus good enough to be played on TikTok, to get shared 1 billion times, right? That's if you want to make a hit song nowadays, that's what it is. But making sure that every song feels like Linkin Park, and it's still colored in such a way that it's just going to rock out on the radio because of the time and because of how it's structured. So a lot of credit to them on that. Get your bag, guys. Get your bag, Mike. See, I'm nice to Mike sometimes.
Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. I can't stand the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Time won't take this damage anymore. Don't turn your back on me. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored.
Wow. See? I think that 1-2 punch of Easier to Run into Faint worked really well. And I'm actually kind of upset that it's 86 million plays to 790 million plays here, because I feel like you got to listen to both those songs back to back. This one's working already. Meteora is working way better for me than Hybrid Theory did. And I didn't hate Hybrid Theory, like, at all. There's a lot to enjoy on it. Would I call myself a Linkin Park fan yet? Kind of waiting for the next 2 albums. So if you really want me to watch or listen to those albums and then watch the live, make sure you subscribe and you don't miss that. But so far, Meteora is working really, really well. And as a sophomore effort, it's doing everything they did well in the first one and refining it a little bit more. I think so far, 7 songs in, there's a little bit more to grab off of Meteora. A little bit more. Figure 09.
And now you become a part of me. You'll always be right here. You become a part of me. You'll always become you.
A lot of what I've noticed so far off of this album is that, and they're small and they're slight, but the intros to songs have been a little bit more funky, and they're working with some different rhythms here. Like the riffs aren't quite timed the same way that they were in Hybrid Theory, and it's those little things that I'm appreciating from one album to the other. It's working for me pretty well here.
Become you.
Hearing your name, the memories come back again. I remember when it started happening. I'd see you in every thought I had, and then the thoughts slowly found words attached to them. And
Be my fear. I can't separate myself from what I've done. Giving up a part of me. I've let myself become you.
never goes away.
Are they about to break us down and then come back up?
It never goes away.
Get away from me.
Give me my space back, you gotta just everything comes down to memories of I kept it in, but now I'm letting you I let you go, so get away from me.
You become a part of me.
So far with this song, it's a standard Linkin Park song. There's nothing too much here for me other than I think this one deserves a re-listen just to see if there's any connection between, I'm not grabbing it right now, but between the lyrics and the song title, Figure.09, because what that's like, like when you'd read textbooks in school, like, oh, well, as represented in this figure, this is happening, So it's something textbook related or field guide, which that's always pissed me off. This is an aside from the music, and I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but this pisses me off. They call it figure. Just call it image or picture. Picture 1, picture 2, image 1, image 2. Why figure? Figure's it's a shape. It's a form. Images and pictures can be shapes and forms, but I don't know. That's always pissed me off. So. So yeah, with that one, like I said, I do really appreciate that at least the intros have grabbed me a little bit more on this album, it seems like, and they are working with some funkier rhythms, but I don't think the rhythm kind of stayed through with this one, at least the kind of funkier stuff. Funky, for lack of a better term. This is a standard Linkin Park song. I don't think this one grabbed me too much, but maybe it deserves a re-listen. I don't know. Breaking the Habit. I've heard this one as well. So another more review than a reaction here. And also, like, this album, I don't recall as many transitions into songs on Hybrid Theory. Especially in the songs that we know. And that kind of sucks because it's like, here's a song that wasn't played on the radio leading perfectly into a song that was played on the radio. That's why you got to listen to the albums, folks. And this song kind of falls into like, Linkin Park comes on, I'm changing the radio. But again, if at the very least all it is that I'm gaining appreciation for them, damn, do they know how to write a hit fucking song? That's talent. Because, like most pop songs are written on 4 chords, and they're the exact same 4 fucking chords. Everybody knows that. I'm not saying anything new in that regard. But to Linkin Park's credit, Linkin Park sounds like Linkin Park. I don't think that, and to somebody else's credit earlier on, as far as like nothing like this is made today, I will praise that in the sense that like they're making hit songs, but nobody else sounds like Linkin Park. Nobody else is doing it quite like them. You know what I mean? I feel like Hybrid Theory is the real rough around the edges project from them, especially compared against this one. I wouldn't say that Hybrid Theory is rough around the edges, but Meteora is much more refined in the sense, because with the success that was Hybrid Theory, it's like, okay, let's take what worked, refine it a little bit more. And I think that's why we're getting like a lot of those shorter songs. And there were some short songs on Hybrid Theory, but they're like, okay, we don't need a lot of time to rock out here, folks. Like, we do not need a lot of time to show out.
I'm breaking the habits tonight.
I do like that little guitar too.
I'm breaking the habits tonight. I'll paint it on the wall.
Ooh!
'Cause I'm the one at fault.
Little moments like that where, I've definitely, I'll paint it on the walls. And he goes up there, and I've heard that a billion times, but paying attention to it here a little bit more, again, I hate to sound like a broken record, folks, but I appreciate it a ton more. And again, this is another one of those songs where it's placed on the album. I didn't really think about this. I guess I did think about this in the sense that this is one of the more quote unquote chiller Linkin Park songs, but on the album, its placement, it works really well. So these guys really put a lot of thought into what song goes where and how it transitions into the next song and how are we going to make that work. And those thoughts don't go unwasted here. They really don't. This album needs more turntable scratches in the front of the mix. I have noticed that in the past where they tend to put the scratches somewhere in the middle or even in the back. And it's kind of interesting because it does sometimes get lost, but it's just another one of those sounds that they're layering in. Even if it's not your favorite thing, you got to give credit to how they produce some of these songs.
Fighting for why I had to scream, but now I have some clarity to show you what I mean. I have it
All right, and I'll pause it here and we'll let it transition to the next song because I don't know if it will or not. But this, at least lyrically here, I like this one quite a bit because it's wanting to change. You know, usually with Linkin Park songs, I find that it's like, this is what pisses me off. This is what makes me feel lonely. And this song's quite interesting because it's like, how do I break out of that? I don't necessarily want to feel these things. Like I want to change. And I think songs that kind of embrace that of wanting to change, even though we're changing from, unsavory emotions, unsavory things, to be rather optimistic in a way. And I think as a song, this doesn't work a ton for me. I don't know if this is one that I'm going to be playing back from Linkin Park, but I might hear it a little bit better if it's played on the radio. But again, on the album, I think it works quite well where it's at. Another transition from the inside. Okay.
I won't waste myself on you. Waste myself on you.
Okay, I'll go back right here. I was going to say that, Linkin Park has a very heavy command of its own sound. They're very confident in their own sound, and it's very consistent. And I really appreciate albums that can give me a consistent sound. The thing about that is, do I get tired of that sound? I thought the more somber songs, like the last one, and what song was that? Is it Easy to Run? Yes, I think so. Where it was a little bit slower and it broke up the album in a way, and so did Breaking the Habit. And those are ways that kind of not get tired of that sound if you're listening to a whole body in an album, right? So I was going to say that about this song, and then the breakdown happens. and that's where it's like, okay, all right, let them cook. They'll be fine. And that's what's happening here, where, I think up until about this point, I'm like, okay, this is, a standard kind of Linkin Park song, and it still is, but it's where I'm not getting, it's reminding me and kind of helping me out as a listener with that breakdown, with like, okay, well, let's just put Chester screaming here. At least for me as a listener, that helps me get through the album. Mal says, lyrics always seem to be about self-aware, internal revelation, proclamation. I'd have to agree. How much of each song is written by either Mike and Chester or either or. These boys know themselves. These boys know themselves quite a bit. The song for me displays the best part of Linkin Park: soft vocals, harsh vocals, screaming, mic raps, everything in one song. Yeah, that's why I was like, it's helping me out as a listener because they are kind of breaking the song apart. But still, it's still all Linkin Park. And I think the self-aware extends past the lyrical themes and into the music. They know who they are. They're not trying to be anybody else but themselves. How could you be anybody else but Linkin Park if you're Linkin Park? Okay, so I'm going to pause right there. Yeah, but I guess I don't have necessarily anything else to say about that song other than the fact that, we're on the back half of the album, really the last, well into the last third of it. And it broke apart the album a little bit for me, and it makes it a little bit easier of a listen that way. 3 songs left. This is Nobody's Listening.
Yo, peep the style and the kids checking for it. The number one question is how could you ignore it? We drop right back in the cut over basement tracks with raps that got you backing us up like rewind that. We're just rolling with the rhythm, rise from the ashes of stylistic division. With these non-stop lyrics of life living, not to be forgotten, but still unforgiven. But in the meantime,
okay, Mr. Hahn.
Dr. Hahn, I am a surgeon.
Okay, Mr. Shinoda. Didn't I just go through saying that Linkin Park sounds like Linkin Park? And that's all. Listen to me. If you're subscribed to me and you're watching this video, thank you very much. But I tend to be wrong. Or proven wrong much of the time. But I'm also not proud enough to not admit it. So I swallow no pride in being wrong. Mike heard me doubting again.
not to be forgotten, but still unforgiven. But in the meantime, there are those who want to talk this and that. So I suppose that it gets to a point where feelings gotta get hurt and get dirty with the people spreading the dirt. It goes.
Try to give you warning, but everyone ignores me.
Told you everything loud and clear.
But nobody.
Heart full of pain, head full of stress, hand full of anger, held in my chest, and everything left's a waste of time. I hate my rhymes, but hate everyone else's more. I'm lying on the back of this pressure, guessing that's better. I can't keep myself together because all of this stress gave me something to ride on. The pain gave me something I can set my sights on.
Warning, but everyone ignores me.
Told you everything loud and clear.
But nobody's listening. Call to you so clearly, but you don't want to hear me.
Told you everything loud and clear.
But nobody's listening.
I got a heart full.
Okay, so I feel like in certain songs where, Mike's coming in at the beginning, we still have the instrumentals, like those hard rock, new metal instrumentals, and then it just picks up whenever, Chester comes in with the chorus. That seems to be a formula that works for them quite a bit. But here we have something completely off pace, an absolutely disgusting beat from, I'm assuming, that's Mr. Hahn. Mike doing his thing, and then Chester comes in, but they don't change the beat at all. Like not really. But it still works. Is it my favorite thing in the world? No. So far, I'm finding, because it's under 3 minutes. They're giving you a lot to like with less time. And in that sense, Meteora, like it. I'm just gonna shut the fuck up.
Head full of stress, handful of anger, held in my chest. Uphill struggle, blood, sweat, and tears. Nothing to gain, everything to fear. Heart full of pain, head full of stress, handful of anger, held in my chest. Uphill struggle. You hear me? Told you everything loud and clear, but nobody's listening. I got a heart full of pain, head full of stress. Nobody's listening. Handful of anger, held in my chest. Nobody's listening. Coming at you from every side.
So, okay, I guess we're getting a little bit of an instrumental one like we did. Now, I know we listened to the deluxe Hybrid Theory there, but this seems to be a good transition into it, because I'm just hoping that this next song is an extension of what just happened before, because even like that was such a hard about face, but not really when you think about it, because hip hop and rap is part of Linkin Park. So even though it sounds so much more different than the rest of the album, it still works because they've identified themselves as, you know, being professionals in that regard. Sir, I am a hip hop professional. So that's why, like, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility or even sanity, I guess, to kind of do that. And a good point's brought up here. The minimalist production is a breath of fresh air. That one's real stripped down. You got the beat, you got the flute. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna need time for that one. I know everybody subscribes for all my juicy analytics, but I don't really know how to sift through that one that well. That one was so we'll get to the end of this. Because it didn't really transition, but this is Session. This is going to be another Cure for the Itch. Which, by the way, that was so funny. People in the comments, so thank you for leaving these comments on the Hybrid Theory videos. Cure for the Itch, scratching, hilarious. I loved that. I got a feeling that this one's gonna, and this is just a hunch here, I got a feeling that this one's gonna transition right into Numb. And I know Numb's probably their biggest hit. So we'll see if there's like a seamless transition on this one, because if so, I think that's gonna hit me really hard. It's vibey. I can get behind that. I will say, I do find it fascinating that Linkin Park has these such heavy, tasty, disgusting guitar riffs and tones. I've said riffs in the past, but really their guitar tone is really quite something. But they also implement piano a lot, and it's this weird thing between the disgusting guitars and then the piano. So, and I know that this one's supposed to be a little bit more DJ heavy here, and I can't even comment on what's going on here because I guess I haven't really been that. In the past, I've never really listened to, bands that have DJs and really listened to that with any kind of analysis to speak on it, other than it's probably an art in and of itself. But just that inclusion of the piano still makes it Linkin Park. let's see if it transitions. No. Okay. Well, that's fine. I'll take it. So this is more of a review than a reaction, and I typically give recaps of albums before the very last song, but we'll keep this one going just because I've heard this one before, so... You know, because I've heard this song before, but now that I know its placement on the album, and I've said this in the past, in some other reactions, that, you know, there's a little thing with the ending song of an album where it's almost just begging for it to be like a slower, more somber kind of song. So if you watched my last Taylor Swift video, right? It ends on New Year's Day. That's just a more recent example of something that I've listened to where an album ends on a slower song. It's more stripped down. I don't know if this one's stripped down, but it's definitely, you know, it's not a go hard, go home kind of Linkin Park song. And I know that this song picks up, but its placement on the album, it makes sense. It feels right. Because it's not so, I think it would have been a little bit more eye-rolly for me if it would have ended on Session, but it didn't. Because I feel like that would have been like, you know, any other band's like, okay, let's just end it with an instrumental. But they're putting this one. And it's their and it's the last song on the album, and it's the biggest hit off the album. This bridge. Let's see what it'll decide to play here. So that was Meteora. Some initial thoughts. So actually, now that I think about it, even more so than what I just said, it makes even more sense to put Numb at the end, because there was this, I don't think there was an overarching narrative with Meteora, but some of the themes do come back, and you know, it was expressed, and I got the memory of an anti-elephant, right? So I can't remember what song exactly it was, but numb, like feelings or certain things making you feel numb and you just wanting to get away from it, right? Was it Breaking the Habit? It may have been Breaking the Habit. But and maybe this was, I wasn't reading the lyrics as closely on Hybrid Theory, but just that callback with the theme of like feeling numb, you know, however small, and it's not the deepest thing in the world, it just gives a little bit more credence into the thought that they put into this. And actually, I think some of the lyrics here hit me a little bit harder than they did in Hybrid Theory as well. Now, as you look through an artist's discography, the way I put it is you can either be AC/DC or anything but AC/DC. And what I mean by that is AC/DC made the same song for 40 years. Now, if you watched my classic rock tier list video, which you should definitely go watch, I make the argument that yes, it's the same song, but that song kicks ass. I've heard that between the third and the fourth albums, they differ pretty greatly, or at least a substantial amount, a non-zero amount from Hybrid Theory and Meteora. And I'm very excited to see that, just because I don't think that this was so different. It didn't show so much of an evolution between the first album and the second album, but it doesn't have to. They know what they do well, and I think they do it with more self-awareness. That was another theme that got brought up, and somebody else pointed that out. And just kind of using that and seeing it through that lens, looking at how short some of the songs are, it's like we know what we can do. We don't need a lot of time to show out here. And they use and they were very efficient. So if I had to describe Meteora in one word, it would be efficient. This is a very efficient album. There wasn't really any stinker, like I said, there weren't a ton of songs that I'd come back to. And maybe it kind of skews my opinion out just because I've heard so many of these songs before. I think I've heard more songs off of Meteora than I had on Hybrid Theory. But it's important to see it on the album because, Figure 09 going into Breaking the Habit, hearing it on the album can put it into a little bit more context. But that still begs the question, am I still a Linkin Park hater? I believe I've graduated from Linkin Park hater to Linkin Park appreciator. There's still some things I really like. I think the answer, I like it more than I did. I think Meteora is a better album than Hybrid Theory, but not by a ton. Because like I said, they didn't do a ton else. They kind of just refined everything that worked in Hybrid Theory for me. And honestly, I those moments where I thought Mike was, his flow, at least for me, there was a lot more that I got out of it here. So I'd love to hear your opinions. And please leave a comment if you want me to keep going on. If you want me to see the live in Texas performance, I'll probably do that after I listen to the next two albums. So if you want me to listen to the next two albums, please leave a comment down below. If you want to see me streaming, go ahead and click one of the links below. And if you're worried about missing one of those streams, for $1 a month, you can subscribe to my Patreon, where you can see full unedited versions of my streams, and they'll usually be posted up about a day or two after I stream. So with nothing else, I've been Jerry Bees. You've been awesome. Take it easy.
Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity dog.